Okay, hello everyone. This is Colin Cox, and this is the Week 14 audio lecture for English 1010. And as you can see from the timestamp, this is a relatively short audio lecture compared to what I've offered you throughout this semester. And that's really something you should expect here as we rapidly reach the end of the semester. I want to get out of your way, I suppose, and not belabor these audio lectures. Plus, I don't really have a lot to talk about this week. I want to offer a couple of reminders and suggestions, and just more than anything, perhaps words of encouragement, as I know all of you are trying to complete your research essays, and that's where I really want to start. Your third benchmark is due by the end of this week on Sunday, and of course you can submit that at any point during this week. I know some of you, even though as I'm recording this, Benchmark 2 is coming. Some of you have gone ahead and submitted Benchmark 2 and Benchmark 3, and that's great. And I'll just remind you, these benchmarks represent collectively 30% of your research essay grade, which is to say 30 points or 10 points per benchmark. So please do not neglect them. And with benchmark 3, where it is a rough draft, certainly try, because a couple of you have asked, how close, how much of a rough draft do I want? And I certainly want something a lot closer to a full draft that satisfies all of those minimum requirements. If you are a little short of the minimum word count, that in theory should not be a problem, but try to get as close as you can, right? And I don't necessarily have firm, concrete rules about, well, what constitutes a full rough draft and what does not, because research essays have a lot of different components. But at this point, you should work toward having a full rough draft ready, even if it's not perfect. And that's completely understandable because it is, of course, a rough draft. But keep that in mind. Benchmark 3, your final benchmark, it is due by the end of this week on Sunday. And I also wanted to remind you that, as I do for every unit, but certainly more so for the research essay unit, I've provided a lot of resources and information in USIA, the video I suppose, hub or part of D2L. It's quite similar to YouTube. Please avail yourself of those resources if you have not, and don't think that if you've watched something once, you cannot or should not watch it again. In particular, the video where I analyzed a student research essay. Many of my students have told me they really like it when I do this. It gives them a sense of what I want to see. It gives them a sense of what they should aspire to with their own work. So take a little bit of time. You can manipulate the playback speed. Take a little time and watch those videos. And if you need to, again, watch some a couple of times because most of them are not that long. And don't forget, I've provided a lot of additional non-video resources in the research essay module, everything from citation builder websites to a document that just offers a visual representation of what the first page of an MLA essay, whether it's a research essay or not, what it should look like. So again, if you have questions about, well, what does the first page, what information do I need? Do I need a cover page? So on and so forth. Please take a moment, if you have not already, and avail yourself, again, of those resources, whether they are video resources or not, and hopefully at this point in the semester, you know where to find those. And finally, I think the last thing I'll say, please keep in mind that wherever you are in this research essay process, if you think you're near the end, but you discover, especially as you perhaps review your rough draft, that, my goodness, I need to do some additional research. How could I have missed that? Please remember what I said on the first day when I introduced this essay. The research essay process is not a linear process. It is, in many cases, a deeply cyclical process, which is to say you complete these different stages or cycles, but it's entirely possible that even if you are at a much later stage, that does not mean you cannot go back and repeat or partially repeat one of the previous steps. That's just how the research essay process works. Again, please keep in mind, I've said this often, almost every single audio lecture, I try to say this, the research essay process is not a linear process. It has a distinct set of cycles and stages, and it is not too dissimilar for students, and it is not uncommon for students to repeat those cycles when necessary. So please, if you need to do that, don't think that it represents, let us say, a failure on your part. In many, many ways, if you didn't repeat some steps, that might be more indicative of a failure than anything else. Repeating steps in a research essay process is, as frustrating as it might seem, just part of the process. So try to keep that in mind. And of course, even though we are entering a couple of days where we will be on holiday, I'll be around my computer from time to time. I'll respond to emails if and when I receive them, but I'll perhaps be a bit later than usual, so I try to respond within 24 hours, depending on the situation. It might take me a couple of days instead. So anyway, keep that in mind. But yeah, keep those emails coming if and when you have them. So, okay, I think that's all I want to say for now. Again, good luck with everything. Try as hard as you can to do a little bit of work, even though we'll be on a bit of a holiday this coming week. And yeah, again, email me if you have questions. So, okay, thank you. This is Colin Cox for English 1010. Have a nice day, have a nice holiday, and I will talk to you soon.